Hello there, interwebs. I hope you're all doing well. So I just want to talk about a specific aspect of the outrage grifter machine that enables harassment against marginalized folks that I find to just constantly be really intriguing to me in how it functions, especially because it's recently cropped up around my recent review of Matt Walsh's Am I a Racist video. And a lot of the comments that I see from conservative fans of Matt Walsh who come into the video is them saying like, oh, this video must have an agenda. Jessie, you must be dishonest. She's lying. You must not have seen the film. You're just trying to push your propaganda about the film. There's even been other videos from other conservative YouTubers who have reacted to my video who literally put in the title that I'm being dishonest. And if you watch the video, which I don't recommend you do, but go if you want to, and they just go through and talk about my points as if I'm actively lying to the audience about my opinion on the movie, that I'm being intentionally dishonest or framing things in a dishonest way, which is really intriguing to me in two ways. One, it's fascinating because it's a little bit of projection, right? Especially if you look at like Matt Walsh's film. I talked about this for What is a Woman. If you go and check out my video on my main channel, the one that Matt Walsh didn't copyright, or the Daily Wire, I should say. Matt Walsh isn't the one probably doing it, but the Daily Wire didn't copyright strike. I talk about how they deliberately misedit things, deliberately take things out of context, deliberately to present their own narrative within their documentary, which to a degree all documentaries do to some level, but this is a very clear, overtly trying to frame reality and craft reality into a way that matches what they want to already sell at the top of the video before they even go into making the documentary, rather than finding the narrative as they go. So there's a bit of projection there. But the other aspect of this that I find more fascinating is how the outrage grifter machine creates their targets and creates narratives around marginalized people. And that is by constantly framing it as dishonest and disingenuous. And the reason that they do this is because it's like, oh, any viewpoint that is not their own is viewed as inherently illegitimate. Because what ultimately a lot of these conservative or outrage grifters are trying to do is saying, oh, this thing that does not agree with the dominant worldview, the hegemonic worldview of America or, you know, male culture or whatever, like the sort of like conservatives, like dude bro-y culture, must be somehow a lie, because obviously it's not good or it's not true or it's not real. And it's because a lot of their audience has not been exposed to differing perspectives from trans people, women, people of color, queer people generally. And because of that, because they have not been exposed to these perspectives, they are able to easily sell to their audience that the point of view that someone from a different perspective has is illegitimate, that it can't be real, that it must be coming from a place of actively lying. Like there was a particularly telling interview way back, or video that I saw that for essay that I was going to do, but I eventually had to stop it and do other things, from a right-wing outrage merchant here on YouTube, where they were talking about an interview from the actress who plays Disa on Lord of the Rings of Power. And I'll just play the clip for you.
I play the character of Princess Disa. She is the first female dwarf that we will ever see on screen.
Woo, woo, woo! I don't know what the fuck that woot is. I don't know why that has occurred, but this is a lie. The first female dwarf we will ever see on screen. I'm sorry, this is from The Hobbit, the first Hobbit movie. I'm gonna play just a little bit of this right here. I think we can show it to you, because we're not gonna mute it or anything, or we're not gonna play the audio. The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. What do we see here? Crazy. 2 dwarven women in The Hobbit. This is from about 10 years ago. 10 years ago this came to screen. You are a liar. Sophia Namvet, you are a fucking liar, and you keep repeating this time after time. The media is letting you get away with it. Lie number 1, I guess. I'm sure there will be others.
That clip is so fascinating to me because clearly you can see this YouTuber is immediately assuming that Disa is lying, that she's lying when she's saying she's the first female dwarf on screen. It couldn't be that she didn't know that there are other female dwarfs in the background of The Hobbit. It couldn't be that, you know, what she actually means, which is that she's the first prominent female dwarf in Lord of the Rings, one with actual, like, influence on the plot and narrative and how important that is to her. No, it has to be that she's lying about the fact that she's the first female dwarf in Middle-earth. That she is clearly deceptively lying to her audience, and the Amazon is letting her get away with it. The mysterious people with all the money behind the strings are letting her lie about women being in Lord of the Rings. Oh, how inclusive Lord of the Rings was before, with all of its very prominent female dwarf characters. It's not even that she doesn't know, it's not even that she's incorrect, it's that she's actively lying. That's the narrative that they try to sell. Trying to get around this idea of like, oh, she's excited about being a black woman who gets to be centered in this franchise in a way that she never got to be before, and what that means to her, and how important that is to her and other black people. It's like, no, she must be lying because she forgot that there was a dwarf in the background of a scene that literally no one remembers until you cherry picked it for this video. And none of your audience remembered until they cherry picked it for this video. So no, it must be she's lying to you. And this is just, again, constantly how right-wing outrage machines work. They find someone that they want to target, and then because that perspective that they are presenting is not the one that their audience is often exposed to, because their audience deliberately is kept from differing perspectives because they're in these sort of conservative bubbles, and then frame that person then as lying, as misrepresenting things, as being, or if they're even trying to be more coded about it, saying they've been manipulated by people above them, usually leading to the Jews, by a mysterious elite agenda that is causing them to think this way. No, it can never be an earnest opinion. It can never be an honest opinion. It can never be something that someone actually thinks because of who they are, their perspective in the world, and the things that they've experienced, and often the marginalization and targeting that they've experienced in their lives or their lived experience. No, it must always be a lie. And it's just an aspect of how they generate harassments against targets, by making their audience feel like, oh, they're lying, so it's okay if I attack them because they're a grifter, they're lying, they're actively trying to distort the truth, whatever the truth means to them, which is usually whatever the common sense wisdom, aka the ingrained truth that our dominant society has taught us as real, and then use that to then go and harass this target. And what they're ultimately seeking is validation, right? These are people that have been seeped in the dominant cultural viewpoint, mostly cis, mostly straight, mostly male, masculine, and cis viewpoint for so long that any challenge to it is seen as against common sense, is against what they know to be true. And so when they're presented with another perspective, they have to reject it wholesale because they can't really place it in their brain. They can't hold two ideas in their head because they've never been asked to. And so they want to validate their opinion by saying, oh, well, let's just dismiss that one. It must be lying. It must be dishonest. And it's just very interesting compared to marginalized people who very often have to hold multiple perspectives in our head, multiple perspectives of like what the dominant culture is going to view our words as well as what we within our own communities are going to view our words as, and even sometimes between communities, how other communities are going to perceive our words, or if we're a part of multiple identities, like I'm queer and a woman, I'm also trans, like these things are going to have different perspectives at different times within me and across these communities. Sometimes they're all in agreement, sometimes not. So I have to hold all those things in my head so I can understand that a perspective that I don't agree with is one that is still valid based on someone's context. But I can also sniff out probably better than others when someone is being deliberately dishonest in their framing because it's not coming from an earnest place, but a place that is trying to create a specific narrative that ultimately upholds the dominant culture. So it's just ironic when right-wing people say like, oh, trans people and queer people, all you want is validation of your gender. It's like, I mean, yes, I do, but I've understood that the world is not set up to want to do that for me. Whereas, whenever these folks want to look out for other perspectives, they have to shove it out as dishonest because otherwise they're not going to be wholesale validated in their views. And that causes them anxiety because they've never had to often challenge these points of view within themselves. It's also really funny because I forgot that my thumbnail for the Matt Walsh review video was about making fun of this exact thing that I knew was going to happen. I put unbiased asterisk in the thumbnail because I knew people were going to call me biased simply by the mere fact that I am transgender. It's just an interesting aspect of it, and I just see it propping up with my review of Matt Walsh's What is Woman, because of course my review about Matt Walsh could never have been earnest. It must be an active lie. I could never have an honest opinion about Matt Walsh unless it's great. Unless I'm praising it outright, I can never have an honest opinion about it. Even though I literally say in my video that like I think that he has a better target than What is Woman. Like I have some level of like, I don't want to say praise, but like critique of the film. I'm not actively being like, Matt Walsh sucks and he's awful. I mean, I do think that, but I'm offering up more nuanced opinions than simply that. But whatever. I guess I'm just a lying bitch.